Konnichiwa. Got a gameplay in the Odin here today. The reason I'm making this video is honestly just a little bit of catharsis. This is an example of kind of some musings I've had rambling around in my head for several years now as I've kind of taken this game a little more seriously, tried to get better, tried to figure out what works, what doesn't, the eternal struggle. How do you win games? I think I have a pretty decent game. I don't know, in retrospect, like if I make some really kind of crazy decisions at the very beginning of the game to just completely change what I'm doing, maybe there's a way to pull out a win here. But one of the things that I've kind of been thinking about it as, I see this complained about a lot, and it happens to me a lot. It's like, oh, top of the scoreboard loss, like, what do you do? What do you do? And one of the things that I've kind of come to think about is pretty much, with some exceptions, you're going into any match generally with with no scouting. Like, you don't know who on the other team is on your flank. You don't know what you're matched up against. If you think about it, like an NBA game or something, it's like going against an opponent that you've literally never seen play before. And if you know anything about professional sports, like they spend a lot of time making a game plan. Like who's going to guard who's going to go where, what are you going to do when this guy gets the ball at three? Like, I don't actually watch a lot of sports, so sorry if I'm saying any of this wrong, but like I do know enough to know that they do spend a fair amount of time watching film and getting ready for the game. Like who you're going to play, who their roster is, who's injured, who's don't. Random video game match, like you don't really know any of that. If you play enough, you start to see some trends. You might recognize some specific players, you might recognize some specific fleets that are either generally good or generally bad, but apart from that, like, you really don't know what you are going into in any given match. You can see on your team, like I think our destroyer was AFK for a little bit. That's not a great sign. You can kind of look at our deployment and kind of make some conjectures around that, but you really don't know what you're playing into until the match unfolds. So in this match, you saw at the beginning, there was I think this game only had the one division. I believe a Jaeger and then a Plymouth on the enemy team. One thing you can generally do is if there's a division, I would say more often than not, let me back that up. Broadly, if there's a division, you can expect them to impact the game to some degree. Now, there are some exceptions and caveats to that. I tend to find that if the division's on my team, it has a higher chance of being useless than if it's on the red team, but I'm sure that's just selection bias. By and large, if someone's taking the extra time and effort to group up with someone, they've likely at least thought about this game maybe a little more than the average player has, so they're likely to be better than average, I think, just on average. Now goes the first kill to that Plymouth. Schroeder, if I'm reading the map right, he just went straight up in D, so oof. As I go straight up in A, but you can see like I know what my opponents are. I'm actually trying to make sure I'm not getting farmed over the island by the Sejong, while also trying to help this Ojarski that kind of went in deep. I think he was within the smoke firing penalty on this Turpitz, and I think the Turpitz would have just eaten him up if I had pushed up on this side. So I'm kind of doing the same thing, but I also can recognize what I'm up against and not just go into that. So anyway, back to my point about the matchups. You don't know. I ate this torpedo, but also kind of knew they were coming, so I was like, whatever, I've got 5 heals, and I'm going to be safe right here. So wasn't my best play, but also a little bit intentional, just to, get this cap, get safe from this possible torpedo run by the Sejong, and then get that Turpitz off the board so we can cap this and move on. So at this point, we've got decap, but we've already seen the Schroeder go down to the Plymouth. That's part of the division, and you can just kind of see this unfold from there. Backing up, if at some point I had just gone straight after that Plymouth, maybe this whole match unfolds differently. But at this point, like, I don't know. I don't know that he is kind of the possibly the linchpin for this match. We already saw him take down the Schroeder, fine, but the Schroeder was also in the middle of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 red ships. Like, that doesn't necessarily mean that the Plymouth was the one that did most of the damage. So yeah, I don't have, uh-oh, there goes another ship. Now it's starting to think, uh-oh, okay, that Plymouth is going to be a problem. It's a high value ship in a division with a reasonable spotting teammate where this is a problem. But at this point, I can't teleport over to that edge of that map. Like, this is where I think that Plymouth is a problem. I wish I was fighting him. Like, I think I've got a decent chance of fighting the Plymouth. I can't just push. I would have loved to go around that corner to find the Sejong, but that's literally, the Pan-Asian cruisers. That's what they want. If I just push into a face full of deep water torpedoes. Oh, torpedoes are knocked out. That's German for you. If I eat a face full of torpedoes, I'm not helping anyone. So I can't really push around that corner. Even with Sonra, like, he puts out enough. My maneuverability just isn't enough that if he's got him in the right spot, I'm going to eat a lot. So, fine. So I kind of back up, come around this way, finish the cap. Now I'm trying to get to the other side of the map where the whole enemy team is. And this is actually, maybe another point, is that the enemy totally overloaded that flank. And they actually won. They did lose the cap in the beginning, but our team overextended and they were punished for it. So yeah, here, I'm just shooting at the mines. He's just sitting broadside to me. Sure, dude. The Odin's guns aren't the best in the game, but, again, like a lot of the German battleships, probably better than they get credit for, but certainly have limitations. Accuracy isn't amazing. They don't overmatch, but I am actually running Hyde with Aladad, so I have slightly better than average penetration angles. And you can see aiming a little high on the mines, even though his hull would bounce my shells. I am getting some pretty decent pins, but he's also showing me a lot of side. So anyway, I guess my overall rambling point about this matchmaking stuff is maybe this match goes differently if I do something wildly ridiculous, like abandon my side and immediately go to the Plymouth and try to shoot him. Like, I've got a decent chance against him. I overmatch him. I think I generally win that matchup. But also maybe the Jaeger spots me and the Plymouth farms you down, or the Jaeger death strikes me, or whatever. Like, I wouldn't say that I'm guaranteed to sink this guy, but as far as this match goes, I don't really have that many opportunities to actually take that guy out. And I think that's just worth remembering as some of the, I've had kind of crazy matchmaking. I hear people talk about it, so I know I'm not the only one. Yesterday, I think I lost 6 in a row, and then I won like 8 or 9 in a row. And 2 of the 8 or 9 wins, back to back, not a single ship on my team went down. So these like steamrolls I just see so often. And I think some of it is just this concept of you're going in with no scouting. You're kind of, to an extent, stuck on your flank for at least the first few minutes of the match. We've handily won our flank over here. Like, we kind of quote-unquote did our job. But unfortunately, because of the random nature of the matchmaking and because that the Plymouth and Jaeger just happened to go to the other side, like, they have completely rolled up the rest of our team. And we just really had no opportunity to impact that. Based on the maneuverability of our ship. Maybe if the Sejong and mines, the red Sejong and mines that spawned on our side, if they had been wildly reckless and just rushed right in, and we sank them immediately, kind of like our team did, maybe we have a better chance to get back in the action and fight this before this match is completely unraveled. But at this point, like, we've lost both our destroyers. They have 3 caps. We are wildly out of position. One thing I would have loved to see a little differently is if one of our cruisers had come this way sooner. They both kind of took the long way around the island to chase the Sejong. I think if one had gone that way and one had come middle with me, maybe we could branch south, pick up that destroyer, possibly have a fighting chance. But honestly, realistically, that's a long shot anyway. At this point, 6 versus 3. We did see the Plymouth briefly, got I think 1 or 2, I can't remember at this point if we've seen him once or twice, but I think we get like 2 pins on him, and that's basically the only damage he takes the whole game. We just really didn't have a chance. There's the Kraken. We didn't have a chance to engage him, just because of where his position was, where we're playing our flank. I believe he probably spawned mid, but went to the other flank, and I just have no control over that. So, I just think realistically, without knowing that he's the danger of the match in the first 2 minutes of the match, which we just don't know yet. And also where he spawned. He easily could have come to our flank instead of going over to D. But just the happenstance of this match, right here. I know the whole team's coming. I'm possibly thinking about getting over to get a side shot on that Borodino to shoot the nose of the Carl. Possibly get some torps off. I imagine they're coming for me. The torpedo launch angles on the Odin forward, I wish were better. That's definitely one of the drawbacks on this ship, trying to do the things that it tries to do. If it had more aggressive torpedoes, I would be a lot happier. But here comes the rest on the Carl. I know they're coming, but I did get him down. Hey, there's the Plymouth. Right here. I think I win this if the Carl's not there alive with him. So, the what ifs of the match. I end up, almost double the next highest ship on my team. He has an amazing match. I tried to send him a good game, but whatever. But yeah, I think it's so important to remember, you don't control that. You're going to have matches like that, and also that go both ways. So it is what it is. You can only control so much. Do what you do, and don't let it get to you. It happens to everyone. Sometimes it feels like it's only you, but I promise it's not. But also remember, there are sometimes things that you can do to pull out a win. Take a look at my Mind Solo Warrior or some of my Baltimore games, and try to win. But sometimes you can't do it all.